Welcome to Upgrade Yourself Live, a series of talks and workshops produced by Somerset House to unpack alternative career pathways into the creative industry with amazing leaders in their field. I'm Suprina, I'm going to be your host for this event, and today we're joined by the first ever person for the first ever episode by presenter, host, and known as your local energy provider, Remi Burgz.
Yeah. Cheapest energy provider, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Cheapest.
Got to make the cake cheapest.
Yeah, definitely.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. It's a pleasure to be here. Can I just say I love the name?
Upgrade yourself.
Yeah, like, I just feel like just in life, you just should continue to upgrade yourself. Same way you would upgrade your phone. You know what I mean? You would upgrade the software. Upgrade yourself.
It's a good motto to have for
definitely.
life. And you just got back from Glastonbury.
I did.
Are you not tired?
I am shattered. I'm scattered. But yeah, man, the show must go on. You know, it's. Do you know what it is? You can tell it was my first time at Glastonbury. You know what I mean? And you can tell it was my first time at Glastonbury because a normal person would have taken the day off after. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
But clearly, I'm learning the hard way. Do you know what I mean? But like I said, it's a pleasure to be here anyway.
But you're here, and we're so thankful that you're here. And like I said, this whole series is about unpacking your creative journey and giving us advice, because I feel like that's the most important thing that we would want to get out of you, as much advice as you can give us.
Yeah, drain me, take
that's
what
what
you
we're going
want.
to be doing. But before we do that, for our live viewers at home, we're going to show you a little video reel of Remi herself.
This week, I linked up with Back Row G, who's carving a unique lane for himself in music. Check this out. Hey, bruv, the air's nice in the library, and I can't lie. It's airy.
You sure we're not gonna get kicked out?
I don't know, you know. We'll push in it. We'll see what we can do.
Let's do it.
Something that's very consistent in your music is, I'm gonna call them sounds.
Because I can see you bringing some serious rhythm to something like Strictly, because them hips don't lie, bruv.
They don't lie indeed. I would, defo, be up for I'm a Celebrity, get me out of here. 100%. I will eat those kangaroos' balls for the team. I will, but those are the only balls that are ever coming in my mouth, by the way. Have you got a license?
Well, that don't mean I can't drive.
I brought you to this beautiful place to let it all out. Because, Shay, I'm not gonna lie, I can't give you my car to practice it. I can't do that. That was mad, but I like it. How does being from South influence your music?
Yeah, so I just make sure I talk about things everybody from South London can relate to, so that's how it's influenced my tape. That's why I can't lose, I can't afford to lose.
You can't afford to lose. Queen of the South, the title is up for grabs.
No, it's not.
Are you ready for this? Winner takes all.
I'll be taking everything.
Hey. All right. Let's reel it in. I've got a job to do, all right?
Yes, that was Remi and her work. How does it feel having that reel out there? Those best moments?
Be careful what you say, yeah? Once it's out there for life.
No, it's hilarious,
it
though.
fun.
It's funny. So, as starting off, could you just fully introduce yourself and kind of tell us briefly how you entered the creative industry as a whole?
Right, Remi Burgz here. It's not my government name, but we won't go into that. Well, actually, it is actually. The Remi is actually my surname.
Okay.
So yeah, I just took that and ran with it. And Burgz I went through a phase where burgundy was my favourite colour. I don't know how I got there, but I made it out of there. So that's good,
that's
good,
how
isn't
your
it?
name came about?
Yeah, my favourite colour now is khaki, but Remi Carks doesn't really have a, do you know what I mean? Doesn't have a ring to it. Yeah, so just left it as that. It's kind of just like my Instagram like name, my social media name that everyone started calling me, and I just left it like that. But yeah, radio broadcaster on 1Extra, Monday to Friday, 1 to 4. And yeah, I guess I got into this 2017. I used to work with young people, and I still want to go back to working with young people actually, because they're just the future. Do you know what I mean? And I just feel like that's where everything should start. I'm a big believer in like sowing seeds, and like I feel like young people are seeds that grow literally in front of us, and we should just nurture them and give them the best environment to just blossom into like the most beautiful like flowers. Do you know what I mean? So I started there, and then, but I've always had a passion and love for radio, but I used to put other things before it, you know. So I remember when I first told my mum I wanted to do radio. My parents were very, very encouraging of like anything I wanted to do. I really loved traveling. They used to like sponsor all of that. I did theatre, I toured in a drama series, and you know, radio, for some reason it was the one that they weren't really, but it was all because of where the radio station was. And Represent, big up Represent, they birthed in Peckham in the middle of like a knife crime epidemic. And yeah, so I remember showing my mum the radio station because my auntie lived around the corner. I was like, Mum, remember that radio station I was telling you about? This is it. And it was dark road, yeah? And my mum was like, I don't ever want to see you here. And she was like, don't ever let me see you here. So I was like, well, I can't secretly come here because my auntie lives around the corner, so I don't want to get caught. So I just left it. And then they Represent were always like offering like training courses. And like, you know, I'd apply and I got one, and then I got my first job. Like this was like my first proper job that was giving me mullah. Yeah. Well, what I thought was mullah. Yeah. It was giving me money, and I thought, boom, like the day you don't want to do the training is the day I'm working. Like, so I picked money over it. I picked money over radio. Another opportunity came, applied again. This is when I was working with young people. And then I got in, and like, again, well, this was out of my control, but my little brother, he got stabbed. So I had to be there for my family. So I couldn't go after work. I just had to go straight home because that's just what I felt like I needed to do. And then the lovely, amazing Alva, she reached out to me again to tell me that there was more space on the next course, that like cohort that came around. And you know, I told her what happened, and she was just so like, she was so determined to get me onto the course, and I'm from that moment forward, I was so grateful because that opportunity came to me. Like, you know, and to an extent I even felt bad. I felt like I was like taking advantage of the fact that I was getting these courses and then not going. So for it to come back to me, I just said, from this day forward, I'm putting radio first. Like, boom. That's just it. Like, so the moment I started putting radio first, everything just started falling into place. And I remember like just like messaging Alva and saying like, yo, like, I'm still here, I'm still alive, kind of thing. And then she kind of like got me into Reprezent Radio, where I could volunteer. So I was only like, I think I was only like scheduled to like volunteer for like once a week, but like for some reason I was still allowed in there like 3 times a week. Like anytime I was in the area, I would just pop in. And I think the thing that I learned from that was like, anything you want to do, like bask in it, like really bask in it. Like if you want to be a DJ, like if someone comes to your Instagram page and doesn't see a picture of you with headphones on in front of decks, they're not going to believe you're a DJ. Like, or if you don't say DJ in your bio, like you have to bask it, you have to live it, you have to be it. Like, don't be afraid, don't wait for a moment, just be it, because you will live up to it. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, and then one day came where I don't think I was actually meant to be in the building that day, where a presenter couldn't make it because of like there was an accident, like, or something like that. And then I had to big up Naina, who is another person that worked at Represent as part of the production team. And Naina just looked at me and was like, so Remi, do you wanna go in there? And I was like, sorry, what? Like, you know, I just did train on the spot. Like, you know, like obviously I did the training, but you know, I was like, wait, how'd you put the mic on again? Like, kind of thing, like, you know, I was taught well. That was just me. That was my bad. But yeah, and then, you know, Naina was just like, yeah, like, just the mic. Just hit play on the music and boom, like, you're good to go. I remember sending a broadcast. You don't remember broadcast messages on WhatsApp? Yeah. It's like, yo, I'm on the radio now. Turn on the radio. Do you know what I mean? And like, you know, all my friends are like, what? Like, sick. Like, you know, and then after that, I just started covering people who couldn't make it. And then the next cohort were like, when they like look over the schedule and trying to look for new presenters, I got offered a show, and the rest is kind of like history.
Wow. So from then it was like tunnel vision into radio.
Tunnel vision, radio, and I missed out a bit, but like in between all of that, again, obviously I still had my day job, and like I quit my day job. Okay. And just like it was a book that I was reading. Mate, it's a book by Jen Sincero, and it's a long title. How to stop doubting yourself and start living your great life, or something like that. It's a very long title.
I think it has an orange.
It's yellow. It's yellow. Yellow thing. Just type in Jen Sincero. It's a yellow book. And it's got a long title about how to stop doubting yourself. And like there was a page in there like, if you don't do it now, when are you gonna do it? And like that's when I just resigned, like whilst my manager was like sitting next to me. I just used their printer to print off my resignation letter. Do you know what I mean? And then you know, small opportunities started coming to me, like because I put a tweet out. I said, look, I just quit my job. I have nothing else to do. Help me out, kind of thing. And then all these little seeds started like coming together. Workshops that got me into the BBC building, where I could like meet, you know, DJ Ace, Yasmin Evans, Charlie Slough, who like were given little gems about, you know, the industry and stuff. So it's just the moment I decided to put radio first, and Reprezent is a big like hub where I got to learn, make mistakes, create. Yeah. So
I really love your creative journey, because I feel like it really shows a true creative working their way up within the industry.
Thank you.
And even when it comes to like you choosing in the beginning like money over that's something that a lot of creatives starting out like suffer with, because as a creative job you don't get paid a lot in the beginning, or don't get paid at all, doing a lot of free stuff in the beginning. So sometimes real life you're gonna have to pick money over actual work. So I love how real that is, and how you've like really come up in the creative industry, because you went from Reprezent and now you're on BBC One Extra. Throughout, when you look at your whole journey, what are some key turning moments where you just think like, wow, that happened and I'm really living my dreams now?
Glastonbury just happened.
That's a big one.
That was
your first time ever,
first
wasn't it?
Ever broke my virginity to Glastonbury this year, and it was epic. Like I thought Glastonbury was just a music festival, like, you know, like that, like Stormzy headlined, everyone was like, boom, like what is this place? There's bare people, like what is this? And then after that I was thinking, next year I'm at Glastonbury. Then boom, pandemic hit, and then you're just like, well, I ain't going anywhere. Do you know what I mean? And then I never thought like my work would get me to Glastonbury, because it's such a massive festival. It's like over 200,000 people there. Do you know what I mean? And that's a big highlight for me. Like I got to see different parts of the festival. It's a very creative festival, you know. Like it's a village. They've built a city. Like there's fake traffic lights. Like it's like there's order. Do you know what I mean? On a farm.
A whole different world.
You know what I mean? So that's a massive highlight. Again, Reprezent was a great place to start. Like they put us in front of brands that we would have thought was such a mile away. You know, like we were working in collaboration with Adidas, Nike, Nando's. Like so many different things, like what else? I mean, getting a job at One Extra is definitely big. During the pandemic as well. I'm a pandemic baby, so like, you know, I'm still meeting people in that building because everything was by email at one point. Do you know what I mean? So that's a big highlight for me as well.
When all these like different highlights come, because I feel like now, especially in your career, there's like one after the other. Do you take time to really sit, breathe and reflect and really just take it in? Like, do you have time for that?
I need to make time for that. Okay. I feel like that's something that I had to learn, and something that helps with anxiety, you know, because anxiety is a real thing. I didn't know what anxiety was until after I'd had it a couple times, like, or like attacks. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, wow, what's going on? Like, what's happening? And then when you finally learn about what anxiety is, I was like, oh, that's what I had in July. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? So, and then you find ways to deal with it. But I feel like the moment you sit back and assess what you've done, and you just take note of what you've done, it reminds you that, you know, you don't need to have imposter syndrome, because you've clocked every part that's got you to the point where you now all of a sudden you feel like you don't belong to be there. So if you just take in every single like success and part of your journey, when it gets to a point where you start doubting whether you deserve to be in the room, you'd be like, wait, are you mad? Like I did the graveyard shift. I used to do radio at like 1 a.m. in the morning. I used to do you know what I'm saying? So, and then you remember, like, I deserve to be here, you know, like, you know, so I definitely want to do that more. So that's a piece of advice I'd give to anyone that's just start from now, because then it just gets easier, you know?
Yeah. Those pep talks are important.
Yeah, you got to talk to yourself. Yeah.
And coming off of advice now, like I said in the beginning of the live, we really want to get like tangible advice from you, because I think it's great to know that, yeah, I met this person and I got into this industry that happened, but not everyone is going to meet that one person. So I think it's great that we can get advice that we can take away now and implement it literally right after this live. So we asked you for 3 advice that your 3 top advice that you would like to give us today, and we want to go into detail with it and we're going to unpack it. So one of the advices that you had was no one knows what they're doing. Explain that one.
Bruv, we're all winging it, bruv. Like, no one knows what we're doing. Like, has anyone read a book on the radio? Or has anyone read a book in like? It's like not really. There's not much to go off here. Like, we're in such a creative industry, yeah, that you can literally create the world that you kind of want to live in to an extent. Like, I feel like for radio, for me, creating stuff was my features. So like in radio, there's something called features, where you kind of want to have a couple features during your show, because that keeps people it's like a clock for people to stay. So if I say, I'm going to be giving you my roadblocker, for example, that's something that I created on Represent, where it was like 1 song a week that would literally have me jumping out of the car and dancing in the road. Like,
wow.
That was me. Like, and I feel like if I had sat there with somebody and said, do you think I should do that? They might have talked me out of it, because they'd be like, no, but what if you get run over? Like, and that's a fair point, but like, I didn't. So, do you know what I mean? Like, so, you know, like, everybody, like, that was my creative world that I created, and I'm glad that I did, and I didn't seek anyone for advice to do it, because it might have talked me out of it. Do you know what I mean? So like, nobody knows what they're doing. So just do, as long as you're not hurting anyone or causing, I definitely cause mayhem, but like, as long as you're not hurting anyone, then why, who can say no to you? Like, do you know what I mean? So everyone's winging it. Like, just try it. And if it doesn't work, then try something else. Like, I don't take no as a no. I see no as next opportunity. That's what it stands out for me. Like, you can't say no to me. Like, you can, but you can't. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, you know, that's just the mentality that I've adopted with that. You know, like, it's like I have like many different roles in the industry. Like, I'm A&R, like, you know, like, and A&R, again, if you ask somebody what's the A&R, you can ask 10 different people what an A&R is, and they'll be like, can't really put it into words. Do you know what I mean? Because they've created, like, they don't get this like definitive criteria of what an A&R is, but there's levels to everything.
Different things, yeah.
You can either be a low level A&R, or you can be the best, and you have to like take pieces and create that yourself. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, man, everyone's winging it. No one knows what they're doing.
And I think that's so great for you to say, because it's so easy for young creatives going into the industry thinking, and seeing people like yourself, seeing other presenters who are really up there and being like, they really know what they're doing. And it goes back to imposter syndrome as well, thinking like everyone knows what they're doing, and then thinking, oh my God, I don't actually know. But for you to say that yourself, it kind of puts into perspective on how we should be entering the creative industry.
100%.
So,
like, yeah, like, you know, when Kanye West was interviewed by a guy called Sway, and he was like, "You ain't got the answers." Yeah, like, I always just think, if someone says something and I'm like, and I don't agree with what I think, I'm not necessarily gonna prove them wrong, but no, there has to be a way. Like, I'm not taking no for an answer. Then that's the first, it's like a meme that comes to my head, like, they ain't got the answers, and I just find another way to do it. Do you know what I mean? And just always find another way.
That voice of Kanye.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's the best person to be following, but like, he's got some gems. He's misunderstood.
No, I actually agree with that. Okay, so your next piece of advice that you said is about reevaluating. So what did you mean by that one?
Reevaluating to me is just taking a step back and looking into your own life. It's like, you know, like in movies when like the soul comes out and they're looking at themselves and they're just like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's like doing that with your career. It doesn't necessarily mean change the location. It just means change the direction. Like when there's traffic or a road is closed, because these days they're closing bare roads and I don't know why, but there's diversions, but you're still going to the same location. It doesn't change your location, do you know what I mean? So I feel like doing that is a way for you to overcome certain obstacles. You know, you might be sitting there thinking, I'm in the same place, like what's happening? Just change direction. Like you might think it's straight ahead, but really it's left, then right, then round the roundabout, straight ahead. Do you know what I mean? So,
do you have an example of when you went through that?
I feel like with my radio show, I think on Reprezent at one point it was going one way, but then I thought my passion is Afrobeats. I love Afrobeats. Like that's me. That's my life. That's what I want to be on mainstream radio. That's what I want people to naturally be like, hey, have you heard that new Burna Boy track? And they're like, yeah. That's what I want that to be a natural conversation. So for me, and big love to Represent, because I had a daytime show, right? And I like, just, usually daytime, you play what's given to you. That's just how radio works. But I kind of, at some point, the show just changed and I was just playing bare Afrobeats until I got pulled up and was like, this is not aligning. But again, I found a way to like incorporate it into my show, and I decided to have a mix through my show and called it Afro Crazy. And that was like where I'd invite DJs on to just play Afrobeats for like 20 minutes to half an hour. And that was like one of my favorite parts of my show, because I was like, this is what I love. There's somebody out there who's listening to Afrobeats during the day, because we were so used to it being such a specialist show at night, or like you know, back in the day when it first like started brewing, if you got a 10-minute set in the club, that was the best set of your life. Like you was like, oh yeah, the best set was the 10 minutes of Afrobeats. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that's pretty much.
I mean, listening to Afrobeats during the day is
mate, it's good, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, there's no Afrobeats is so positive. Like all they rap about is love and girls and just wanting to be rich.
It's
like
full of happiness.
It's just full of happiness. And hope. Happiness and hope. They're 2 H's. But yeah, so yeah.
So I'm glad you were able to do that on Represent. So your final piece of advice, which I would say is my favorite, and when you said this one, it spoke to me. This one 100% spoke to me. Saying no doesn't make you a bad person.
Yes.
Why did you add this one, and what does it mean to you?
I don't know, like okay, what I'm about to say, they're not going to contradict each other, but there's certain things in life you're going to do, like I feel like you should do for free.
Okay.
Like, and very early on in your career, that is when you're going to be put in front of, there's going to be situations that are put in front of you where like, you might have to do it for free. You might have to do it for free, but you can't think of it as doing it for free. Again, I'm a big believer in sowing seeds. So it's like, okay, cool, this one I do this one for the love of it. But the next time I do it, I've sowed that seed, so I don't have to do it for free next time because I've sowed that seed, do you know what I mean? But also, knowing when you need to do something for free and knowing when you don't need to do something for free, that is the balance, that's the hardest part. And then, when you get to that point, saying no does not make you a bad person. I feel like some people feel bad saying no. They feel like, oh, they're not gonna like me. They're not gonna book me again, or they're not. Knowing your worth is not a bad thing at all. Like, and that again, that's something that I had to battle with myself. You know, because I was so open. I was open to doing everything. I'm pretty much open, but like you could, mate, I'm up for anything. Do you know what I mean? So it got to a point where, like, you know, like I just had to say no, and at some point you have to even push your integrity and your morals into it. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, so yeah, don't saying no does not make you a bad person, and that's the best piece of advice I can give to you, because you're going to be put in front. Situations are going to be put in front of you where you feel like, I don't want to do this, but you feel like you have to do it. Yeah. But you need to know that saying no is not going to make you a bad person. So, like, don't. So
how would you say no if something that you are nervous about?
Ooh, I think I'll just say it's not aligning with the direction I want to go in.
Okay.
It's pretty much it. Use that. This does not align with the direction I want to go in. Just end the email like that. Boom. Full stop. And best wishes. And that's it. You know what I mean?
Sign it off.
A bit of balance. You know what I mean? That's how I do it.
And I think you kind of answered as well, but like, how do you know what to say no to? Do you feel like saying no is like what doesn't align with your morals? Is a good way to measure it?
Yeah, with the other pieces of advice that I gave in terms of like, it's not going in the same direction. It's like you having a petrol car and then someone's offering you diesel.
Yeah,
mate, it's just not gonna get this car pumping. Do you know what I mean? In fact, I'm gonna have to now wait for the AA. Do you know what I mean? So like, if it's not aligning, then I ain't trying to hear it. You know, so yeah, that's a way of just knowing, just apply that to most of the stuff that's thrown your way, like, I don't know, as I'm going along in my career, like, more opportunities are coming to me, but not every opportunity is for me. Like, if I know there's somebody out there that can do the job better than me, I would gladly say sorry. I actually would recommend this person doing it, so you might want to hold like them, like, because again, like, if there's somebody else that can do the job better or it doesn't align with the direction you want to go in, they don't feel no way about passing it on to someone else who can deliver it properly,
Of course. I think those 3 pieces of advice are great, and a lot of people are going to take away from that and can implement it right now. So thank you so much, Remi. Do we have time for more questions? Yeah? One more question? I just wanted to ask you as well, like, when you go into anything, whether it's hosting a festival, presenting on TV, doing your radio show, what's one thought that you put at the forefront in your mind before you even go into it? What is like your main thing that you put in there to like be like, you know what? This is what I'm gonna focus on.
My one thought, I guess it's just like, well, first of all, I think it's gospel music for me. Like, I feel like that aligns my chakras. You know what I mean? Like, I feel very aligned when I listen to that. But in terms of like my job, like when I'm doing TV, like radio, everything, I think it's important about the message I want to get across. What do I actually want to say? Like, my voice, in front of me is a platform that is allowing me to speak to more than one person. Like, that's enough for me to know that whatever I'm gonna say, I would like it to resonate. I would like them to take something away from it, whether it's comedy, whether it's a serious note, whether it's like, me plugging music, like that I genuinely believe that, you don't need to really check out this artist because they're sick. Yeah. Like, that's something I used to do on my show before I got to One Extra. I dedicated like a section of my show to upcoming artists. And then I thought, that's not even enough. So I started writing about them. So I would give them, for a lot of them, it was their first ever article ever. Like, so I would just write about them and then put it on my website that I did like during the pandemic. And like, it's just, just using my voice. Like, I just want to use my voice properly, And
that's what you put out there before you do like.
Energy. Like, I'm an energies person. Like, I feel like everyone is literally an energy provider. Everyone. So whether you're the person if you're the person that comes with bad vibes, then you're known as the bad vibes energy. Like, that's just it. If you're the person with good vibes, great. So that
Have you ever worked with someone who has bad vibes?
Bad vibes. Aye.
And what do you do in that situation if you have?
I feel like good vibes always overpowers bad vibes, man. Like,
okay, so even if it's
anything, it highlights the person with bad vibes more. It's like, your bad vibes, like, kind of thing. Like, you just focus. Like, the only tattoo I have on my hand, what I had on my hand was protect your energy. So I've got that here, and then the other day, very random, I did not plan this tattoo. I just walked in and there was a guy that was doing tattoos, and I just said, do you want to amplify the tattoo that I have? Just put a mic under it. Do you know what I mean? And that was it, literally. But protect your energy is my motto, my mantra for life. I remember my cousin said that to me very early on when I started radio, and he was like, your energy is going to be like your unique selling point. So you have to protect it. And he was like, protect your energy. He just randomly used to like send it to me in the morning and just be like, protect your energy, protect your energy. And that's just something like, like that I've always it's always in the back of my mind. If it doesn't align with my energy, I'm not gonna do it, like, pretty much. Like,
I love that.
I'm the kind of person that will just leave.
Just leave.
If I'm in a room and the chakras are just imbalanced, then I'm just like,
I'm out.
Peace.
I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Final question. Obviously, you've achieved so much, and you still have so much to achieve. Are you the type of person who has written down these goals? Do you have a vision board? Like, what is your way of going about your goals?
I have a vision board.
Okay.
I have a friend, a DJ friend, Tayo Iku, big up her. Me and her, like, we literally, at the start of the year or like every 6 months, we try to sit down together and we just go to one of them artsy shops, buy the white blank canvas and just write our vision board. Just write random stuff. Random, but it's crazy because when I look at them, like, so some of them I've actually achieved, like, and I'm just like, damn, I need to reevaluate, you know what I mean? Like, so it works for me personally, but I think just writing it down and letting it go and just putting it out there. I feel like when you say something or you do something, it becomes real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
I agree.
Yeah, that's...
And is it a place where you can see it every day? Like, do you look at it every day?
Yeah, it's above my decks in my house. Oh. So, yeah.
I do honestly believe in vision boards.
Yeah,
I do feel like they work.
100%.
So it's a good way. Thank you so much, Remi Burgz,
Thank you for
joining
having me
today for the Upgrade Yourself Live. Big thanks to Remi. And if you want to join our next live, it's going to be on the 25th of July, and it's going to be with Alakai Harley. It's going to be a very good one.
She got the gold.
So we're now going to go into in-house Q&A, and if you want to be at our next in-house Q&A, you can sign up to our Upgrade Yourself Live newsletter to get your tickets. But thank you so much for watching.